Greetings, happy people, and welcome back to Affinity 10. My name is Nick with TDG. In this workshop video, we're going to explore setting up a basic business card and utilizing the data merge feature available to us in Affinity to quickly generate several cards at once. Once again, this video will remain mostly unedited with the exception of our Toby tip. And speaking of Toby, here comes Toby now. Toby would like to remind us that by taking advantage of the data merge feature available to us in Affinity, we can quickly generate certain projects such as business cards, envelopes, or tickets, just to name a few. While I will be creating a basic business card in this video, that's not going to be the primary focus. So I'll be moving through this part rather quickly, so you are welcome to pause the video and go back to watch something again if you choose to do so. But most of these items I've covered in previous videos, so feel free to go back and watch those videos to see how I go through them a little bit more methodically when working on particular projects. Right now I have a preset set up for a business card, and feel free to pause the video here so you can see the settings for yourself. But I have a 3.5 by 2 inch standard business card. I have it set up as 2 pages, non-facing, and I'm using margins of 0.167 and a bleed of 0.125. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So with our document now created, we have 2 pages here. And what I would like to do is go into my master pages and go ahead and create a new master page. We'll go ahead and click OK. And on our master page, I'm going to go ahead and set up our baseline grid and our columns and rows. So I'm going to go underneath the View menu, click on Guides, and I'm going to do 2 columns and 2 rows. Now the odds are I probably won't necessarily use these on this layout, but they are here if I want to use them as a guide when creating the card. I'm going to change the color of our margins to be green. That's just personal preference. You do not have to do that. And I'm going to change the gutter to be 8 point. 8 point will be our baseline grid, and that's why I'm making the gutter 8 point as well. We'll go ahead and close out of this, and now we'll go back up underneath window, or view, excuse me. Go down to baseline grid. We're going to use a baseline grid. And I want the grid spacing to be 8 point. I want it to start at the top margin, and I want to show the baseline grid. I'm going to lower the opacity of this so it's not so intrusive while we're working on our layout. And now we'll go ahead and close out of this. I will now apply this master to the 2 pages in our document. To start with on master page A, this is going to be the front of the card. So to begin with, I would like to add a background fill for the background of the card. I'm going to get our rectangle tool and come over here to my swatches panel. I have a palette set up for the Mansfield Art Center. I'll go ahead and click on the black color swatch. And we will drag across a rectangle, making sure it touches all 4 sides of the bleed. I'm now going to go over here to our layers panel, and just me knowing myself, I want to make sure I don't accidentally click on this and move it. I'm going to go ahead and lock this layer down. I will now add in a text frame, or excuse me, a picture frame. And I'll make this rather large, and this will serve for the logo placement. And now I will do File, Place, and I will navigate to where the item is. And while I'm in this folder, to quickly go over some of the assets I've already gathered for it, what I have here is 4 photographs that we will be implementing into the project so that I can show you how to merge in photographs as well. And I also have the logo as well as some social media icons and general icons to implement into the design. I'll go ahead and click on the logo and click Open. And that's looking pretty good there, with the exception of the top of the logo is coming outside of our margins. So I want to go ahead and just slide this down a little bit so that the logo comes right to the top of the margin. And I can go ahead and turn off my preview lines and see how that looks. And that's looking pretty good for now. We'll leave the front of the card as this for now, but I will also go ahead and lock the logo in place so we don't accidentally move that when we come back to it. I'll now create another master page, which will be the back of the business card. I'll go ahead and say OK. And we will turn on our guides again. And now what I would like to do is add in the typography for our project. And I'm not quite sure why our columns and rows aren't showing. Let me go up underneath View and go back underneath Guides. And that did not carry over. So that is interesting. So I'll just do a 2 and 2 again and change this to be 8 point. And it's important to have that on this side since this will serve for the information side of the card. And once again, I will change the color of the margins to be green. And everything looks fine. Click close. And for now, I'm going to go ahead and set up my paragraph styles for this project. Even on a standard business card, I like to use paragraph styles. As you've noticed in my other videos, if there is a change that comes up from the client or as you as the designer makes a different decision, it's just much easier to alter those using styles versus having to go in one by one to change those each and every time. So here on master page B, I'm going to go over to my text styles. I'll go to body, and I'm just going to go ahead and start by creating a new paragraph style. And I'm going to call this contact info. And we'll go through some of these settings. For the font, I want to have this be Source Sans Pro. So I'll scroll down to find Source Sans Pro. For the font style, I want it to be regular. And for the font size, I want to make sure this is 8 point. Traditionally, business cards have a smaller font, especially when it comes to the actual contact information. Of course, that can vary from card to card depending on the layout you're doing. But for most of the contact information I use on business cards, I start with an 8 point font and will adjust it and change it accordingly as I need to. Scrolling down for the spacing, I want to have space after set to 0 and make sure that that's not carried over from the default body style. Or actually for the spacing, I do want that to be 8 point. We'll go ahead and put 8 point in there. I don't think I put in 8 point. Okay, so there's 8 point. And I do want this to align to the baseline grid. So I will make sure that is check marked. I want the leading to be exactly 8 point. And for the alignment, I do want it to be left. For the color and decorations, I'm going to change this to be the dark gray color. And we'll say OK. Now to give this a test, what I will do is get our text frame tool, drag out a basic text frame, and I'm going to quickly add some filler text. And I will make sure that this style is selected, so I'll make contact info, and everything there is looking good. So far, so good. Now what I would like to do is start creating the styles for the name of the card. So to do that, I'll once again come back over here and just select no style in this case. I'll create a new paragraph style. I'm going to call this first name. And for the font, I want this to be Montserrat. We'll scroll down until we find that. I want the style to be light. I want the color to be the dark gray. And working down for capitals, I do want it to be all caps. Coming down to spacing, and this is where it might get interesting. We'll see how badly I mess this up. For the spacing, I do want it to be left, and I do want it to be exactly 16 point leading here. And for the space after, I do not want to have any space after on the first name. And going down through here, I think we'll leave this exactly as it is and say OK. But there is one thing I think I forgot to do, and that was change the font size. So let's jump back in here. And yeah, 12 is definitely not going to work. Let's go to 18 point. We'll start with that. And say OK. Now we have our first name. Let's go ahead and create our last name style. So with the first name selected, I'm going to duplicate this style. And I'll call this last name. Still has 18 point font. I do want to change the color in this case to be red. Working down through here, capitals should still be set as all caps. And for spacing, I do want to have space after in this case to be 8 point. And looking through some of these, I think we'll leave this as that for now. I do want to come up to style here and take a look at something real quick, and I think we're okay right now. And we'll go ahead and say okay. Now we have first name, and we should have last name right here. There's our first name and our last name. Now we're also going to add another one. So we'll come to contact info. I will go ahead and duplicate that. And I'm going to call this title. So with title, I can come down here to font. A point is okay. I do want to come to capitals, and I do want to change this to be all caps for the title. The color is set as gray, so that is fine. And we'll go ahead and click OK. And now there's a couple of things I want to do over here to see if we set our chain up correctly. And by chain, I mean I can go from one style to the next without having to go in and individually set them as I'm typing in this text. So let's go over and look at first name. We'll double click on that. We'll come to style, and I want the next style to be last name. We'll go ahead and say OK. Now we'll come down to title. Or I'm sorry, we'll come down to last name rather. Let me find last name. Same thing, style, next style. I want that to be title. And with our first name selected, what I'm going to do is come up here with our text frame tool, drag out a text frame and see if what we created actually works. So here I will have the first name. And it looks like as of right now, it's not picking up on the style I selected. So let me come over here. Yep, it has no style. So we'll go ahead and make sure we have first name selected. And there we go. That's looking much better. Now we'll hit enter, last name, and now we'll hit enter again, and title. That's looking beautiful. So right there, that's one way I kind of do it. And if you're more familiar with how paragraph styles work, you can kind of do that on the fly and modify as needed. But that's how I typically go through and create a project if I'm a little bit familiar with what I'm looking for and customizing my paragraph styles. Now, I do want to note that if you do a soft return, for example, if I was at the end of first name and I did shift enter for a line break, that is not going to serve as a return. It's going to look at that as the same style as the first name. So you have to make sure you do what's known as a hard return, and that's just printing your return or enter key by itself to do a line break, and then it'll move on to the next style. And after last name, it went on to the next style, which is our title. So now we have the start of the back of our card. But let's go ahead and add a couple more things over here. I'm going to get the rectangle tool, and you may be hearing in the background Toby playing with his best friend Murphy. They just got out of their crates and are having a good time wrestling. So it's a good time in here at the moment. I will select red, and we'll just drag in a basic shape right here, going down to where the column ends and touching the bleed lines. Now I would like to go ahead and move this over. And one thing I want to make sure of is that I do have the same width or spacing between the end of this text frame and this block. So to do that, I'm going to come down here to my transform panel, click on the left anchor point, and for the width, I'm just going to enter minus 8 pt for a point and hit enter. And now you'll see that shifted this over to ensure that it's not going to get right up against this block. Now, traditionally, I don't put photographs on business cards unless the client particularly requests it. There are some job fields where they love to have the photos on, such as realtors or sales reps like to have their photograph on. So I'm going to go ahead and put a placeholder in for that for now, and then we'll modify that later when we start doing the data merge. So I'm going to get the round ellipse tool for the frame, and holding down my shift key, drag out a circle, and have it fill this space here. I'm going to go ahead and fill this with a color for now, just so it makes it a little bit easier to see on your screen. And now we'll come down here to the actual contact information. Now for the contact information, that's going to give me the opportunity to go over here and show you the Excel spreadsheet we have set up to import the information into our business cards. Over here on our Excel spreadsheet, and this is really just a template that was pulled right out of Excel itself, and I added whatever columns I needed to and modified some things accordingly. But anytime you're doing a data merge, if you've never done it before inside either InDesign or inside of Affinity, your top row serves as your information or header row. And this is going to be the fields that Affinity is going to pull in so you know what you're placing inside of your design. And anytime I'm doing a lot of business cards, now for this example, I'm only doing 4. And traditionally when I do a data merge like this, if I'm doing business cards, if I'm doing more than 10 business cards, or in some cases even several hundreds of business cards, I'll send this form to the customer or to the client to fill out, and that way they put all the information in. But there's one thing you have to make sure of, and that's that they enter the information exactly as they want it to appear on the card. If they enter everything in all caps, it's going to come into your card in all caps. If they don't use proper punctuation, it's going to come in inappropriately as well. So you want to make sure that you make that clear to them to enter the information exactly as they want it to appear on the card. And that's going to save you a lot of time and also save them a lot of time as well. Now, we may not use each and every one of these columns, but it's a good starting point to have. And you want them to keep this on file as well, because if they have new additions to their staff or a staff gets a promotion and the title changes, whatever it might be, they can keep this up to date on their end and then send you the brand new spreadsheet to update your files accordingly. And sometimes they want to add, for example, a promotion occurs, they just want to add that promotion on the end of the file. And I always say never do that. Have them adjust it inside the file directly. So for example, if the receptionist got promoted to something else, change this here versus adding a new line with the same name and just a new title, because that will avoid confusion when you're going through and merging all these out. Also over here, we have the photo field. And if you've never done a data merge using photos or implementing photos into your layout, those are done by using it and referencing a path to that file on your computer. So if I pull back up our files here, if you right click on the photograph, you'll see the option to copy as path. And on a Mac, it might be a little bit of a different option that it gives you. I think it's in one of these sub menus here on a Mac. But essentially you want to select copy path versus trying to come up here and read the path this way. Copy the path, come over here to your Excel spreadsheet and paste it in the field. And this is the path to get to those files. Now, if I click on this and double click on it, you'll see the entire path there. And if you are using photographs, I do want to reference that it's important to try to name the photographs with the actual person. That will make it easier for proofing on your end as well when you're looking at stuff. So try to have them either save the photographs with the names, and typically this would come from them, or you save the files with the names as well. That way that you just have a cross-reference to go back and look at. So now I'll go ahead and close this down, and you can save this, I guess before I close this, you can save this as a CSV or an Excel document. Prior to the latest release of Affinity, they used to want the CSV file, and now you can use the Excel file. So either way is fine if you want to keep the pretty formatting that's in the Excel version. Of course, if you save it as a CSV, and what I mean by that is you do File, Save As, and when you see Save As here, and drop down this menu, this is the version I'm referring to, the CSV, comma, delimited.csv. That's the format you'd want to save it as if you want to. versus just the Excel file. So now I'll go ahead and close out of this, and we'll go ahead and save the changes. And now on here, I know I want to have the phone number, street address. Now in this case, I'm going to do a soft return because I don't want there to be a line break. I'll put city, state, and zip. And right here, I'll put email. And these are for me to know where I'm inserting these data fields into our project. Same with the first name and the last name right here. We'll be swapping these out momentarily. So now with these created, I'm going to go ahead and move this over just a little bit here. And we'll insert some of our icons that we have created. So I'm going to get our rectangle tool and drag out a square. I'll come up here to the properties, and I want to make sure that this is set to the center and scale to minimum fit. And we'll say done. And now we'll go ahead and place in some of our icons here. So I'll do replace image. And I want this to be the phone icon. I will quickly duplicate this down. Maybe I'll quickly duplicate this down. Being a little bit finicky at the moment. And of course it didn't do it. Okay. I think it's because it's such a small icon, so I'm just going to do a copy paste and move it down this way. I'll replace this one with the location icon. And I'll paste again. And use this for the web or email icon. So come in here, find email, say open, and that's looking pretty good. I do think I want to modify this just a little bit. So we'll go ahead and shrink up the photo a little bit here and bring this over. And once again, I kind of base everything on points. So I'm going to come down here and resize this and do a minus 8 point. Have that shift over to keep everything in line. Same thing here. I'll move this over to where it comes in line with our icons. Maybe. And same thing on the X value. I'm going to add 8 point. And that's not looking too good. I'm going to move that a little bit closer. I set off a little bit too far there. So we'll just go ahead and bring that back. Okay, so we have our icon set up. I am going to shift this up just a little bit because there is one more icon I'd like to get in here, and that is the website. So I'm going to move this down. And now I'll do website. And make this frame just a little bit larger. It's not quite picking it up there. There it is. And same thing here. We'll do a copy, paste, bring it down, replace the image with the website icon. And we almost have all of our icons in place. There's a couple more I'm going to add over here and make these a little bit larger. Same thing, I want to double check the properties, make sure those are set correctly. Replace it. And we'll do Facebook icon. And we'll go ahead and duplicate this. And replace that with the Instagram icon. And we'll move these over here to the right to line up along the margin and bring them down to sit on the baseline. So there's our two icons. I'm going to go ahead and turn off preview to see what we have here. And we got to shift the placement of our icons here from modifying that a little bit. So we'll go ahead and move this up. Move this up. And you can also, of course, go into your transform and move them that way by entering in -8 point and now we'll do it as well on your y-axis. And so far, everything's looking good. So I do want to take both of these and copy them. We'll go back over here to the front of our card, and I will paste these on the front, put them in the center. And we'll go ahead and replace these with the white versions of these logos. So we want the Facebook white icon and replace it with the Instagram white icon. And there we go. So now we have the front of our card set up, the back of our card set up, and now we're here for the fun part, which is actually doing the data merge. So to do the data merge, we first have to go up underneath our window. We want to go underneath layout, and we want to select data merge. Let me pull this onto the screen here and make it a little bit larger if I can. Okay, so with our data merge file here, we're going to go ahead and select add data file. And it's going to ask us which file we want to insert. I'm going to go ahead and select our Excel file and click on open. Now, once we open it, there's a couple of things we can do. We can click on reveal, and reveal is just basically going to open up your file explorer and show you where it's at on your computer. You have replace, which is in the case where someone sends you an entirely new Excel spreadsheet, you just want to replace the entire thing. And you also have refresh, where maybe if you've made some changes yourself locally, you can refresh it. Think of it kind of like updating a link. It'll just refresh that file for you. It'll also give you an overview, and it'll also let you know what you are using to create this list. And this is the phone list, where if I had the Excel file opened up, this is the name of the tab that was on the bottom of the Excel spreadsheet. It'll show you all the records we have available to us, which is only 4 for this instance, and all the pages. So you can go ahead and look at these more individually if you want to, or do a specific page range if you wanted to. Now that we have the data pulled into our data merge, now we have to actually add it to our design. And you'll see the blue generate button down here. You do not want to click on that yet. That's what's going to generate our cards for us, but we're not quite to that point yet. What we have to do is actually add in the fields for the data merge. So we can do that by double clicking, for example, on first name, highlighting it. We want to insert a field, and I want to insert the first name. I'm going to select the last name field and do the same thing. Insert field, last name, highlight the title, and choose title. Go down here to the phone number, insert our field, find the phone number, highlight the street address, the city, state, and zip, the email address, and the website. So now we have, and we are telling Affinity what data we want them to pull in from this field, but we still have to add in the photo as well. So to do that, we click on the photo. We want to bind the field, the photo. Now, you can also take this out of here if you just want to be safe. And let me go ahead and turn back on preview here. Enter our frame again. And bind the field to the photo. When this icon initially didn't show, I think it's probably because I had the fill in there. I just wanted to make sure it was accepting it. And when you are data merging a photo, this is what you will see, showing that it's recognizing that as an image in your file. Now what we need to do is take this down and apply master page B to our design. Now, if this was just a single-sided business card, there was no double-sided, then you wouldn't need to have both of these down here. You can just generate the back of the card. But since we have both of these down here, now we can go ahead and click on generate. It's going to give you the data merge source data has been updated since you last imported it. Would you like to update before outputting? I always typically just say yes just to be safe. And now we have our card's output. So let's go ahead and give these a quick look at. Here we have the front of the card. And let me go ahead and move this off screen here a little bit so it's a little bit easier to see all these. I'll also turn off preview. And there's the back of the card, pulling in the information that we wanted, which is the email address, the address, and the phone number. Here's the photograph coming down here to the next card. There's the photograph, the title, the name. Everything's looking okay. We continue to click through these. And that quickly, outside of really just setting up the business card, which was the most of this video, you can see how quickly, once you have the design done, you can quickly generate all these cards at once and not have to sit there and do them individually, adding information in one after the other, which can get very tiring. So once again, I'd like to thank you for spending your time with me. I realize your time is very valuable, and it means a lot to me that you took the time to watch this video. Hopefully you picked up some tips from it. If you did, please like or subscribe to the video, help a designer out. And I look forward to seeing you in the next session.